Good morning, everyone. It is a lovely day. It's not blistering hot and not too cold, which is lovely. And today I wanted to read the first couple verses in Proverbs because I was reading that. It's funny because Jeremiah has read Proverbs a lot. I don't even know what number you'd give that. And I've been, this last little bit, being drawn to Proverbs. And so this passage just struck me a little bit different, and I've read it, and I'm sure you've all read it a whole bunch. Chapter 1, starting in verse 2. To know wisdom and discipline, to understand the sayings of understanding, to receive discipline that leads to insight, righteousness, justice, and equity, to give prudence to the simple, to the youth, knowledge and discretion. Let the wise man hear and increase in learning, and a man of understanding will acquire guidance. To understand a proverb and an enigma, the words of the wise and their riddles. The fear of Yahweh is the beginning of knowledge. Ignorant fools despise wisdom and discipline. The interesting thing with this passage is that this is the point of Proverbs. Because it starts off, first verse is just like, hey, this is Solomon. These are his Proverbs. And the point of these Proverbs is so that we would know wisdom and discipline, and for it to give us understanding of the sayings of understanding. You know, how many times did Jesus, when he taught, said, he who has ears, let him hear? Those who are hungry, those who are willing to understand, to listen. And the thing that stuck out to me the most was discipline. It takes wisdom to be able to receive discipline. And that discipline has a point. It has a purpose. Because that discipline leads you to have insight, to be righteous, to have justice, and have equity. Equity just means evenness. You're impartial. You know, Paul talks about, church leaders don't treat a rich brother more highly or more honorable than a poor brother. You treat them the same. You give them the same honor. The amount of money they have doesn't matter. That's what equity is. Doesn't matter what your circumstances are. Doesn't matter what social class you're from, what race you're from, or any of that, because in Christ, we're all the same. We're all equal. And so then the goal is wisdom and discipline actually leads us to treat other people this way. And so the challenge even for myself is in reading Proverbs, in reading the rest of the word, am I becoming like this? Am I, first off, able to receive discipline? How many of us like discipline? How many of us know it's necessary? It's very necessary. It's very uncomfortable. But if we can receive it, we can grow. And then being able to grow even more, becoming prudent, becoming, even when you are young, you young boys, if you receive discipline and you grow in wisdom, you will become knowledgeable. You will become wiser than your peers. Not just smart, not academically smart, but you will be wise. Your life will show wisdom and people will be confused by it. Because most people are not disciplined in their life. They want what they want and they do whatever they want to do in order to get what they want. And that is not how God called us to live. That is not how wisdom says we should live. And being able to understand, to be able to have guidance, to understand a proverb, somebody say something that's kind of obscure, like Jesus teaching the parables. If you're willing to receive discipline, you'd be able to understand those. To be able to understand the words of the wise and their riddles, be able to solve things, think things through. And all of it starts at the root in verse 7. The fear of Yahweh is the beginning of knowledge. We need to hold him up as the one we care the most about. What does he think? Because if we care more about what our parents say or our friends say, so we don't do certain things because I don't want to get them mad, but it doesn't honor God, that's a problem. We need to fear God more highly than anybody else, and in that we will grow in wisdom, and with that comes the discipline that makes us wiser still.